The wind rolled across the dry plains like a low whisper, carrying with it the lonely ache of another dying sunset. Ethan Maddox, the solitary rancher, whose name the nearest town half respected and half pitied, walked back toward his cabin as his boots pressed into the dusty earth. It had been years since laughter or warmth had filled his home, ever since the accident that took his wife and daughter away, leaving him with a silence so heavy even the cattle seemed to tread softly around him. He worked long hours, not because the land demanded it, but because he feared the moment he would have to sit alone with his memories. That day had been particularly rough. The cattle weren't eating right. The barn door had snapped loose in the early afternoon wind, and Ethan's back still ached from old injuries that never fully healed. He was ready to collapse into bed when he noticed something odd, tiny, footprints near the edge of his fence line. At first, he tensed, thinking maybe coyotes had wandered too close. But no animal prints were that small or that uneven. He squinted, following the trail through the dirt until he saw movement behind a mesquite tree. Two small figures, thin, trembling, and holding each other as though the world depended on their grip, stood silently. Ethan stepped closer and the children gasped, hiding behind one another. The older one, a skinny boy no more than 8, tilted his chin up with a bravery that didn't match the fear in his wide brown eyes. The little girl behind him clutched a worn cloth doll. Though its head was barely attached, Ethan spoke gently. "You two lost." The boy swallowed and shook his head, but his voice cracked when he said, "No, sir. We were just looking." His stomach growled, loud enough that even the fading wind didn't hide it. Ethan's eyes drifted to the small paper bag the boy held. It was empty except for crumbs. "What were you looking for?" Ethan asked. The boy hesitated before whispering, "Food? Just a little. We saved all day for the bread we had, but—" My sister dropped it. The little girl's tears spilled instantly, and she buried her face in her brother's torn shirt. Ethan felt something in his chest shift, soften, crack, something he hadn't allowed himself to feel in years. He crouched down and his voice lowered. "Where are your parents?" he asked. The boy's face darkened. "Mama's sick. She can't get out of bed. And we don't got a daddy." He lifted the empty paper bag, again as if showing proof of their hardship. "Please don't take our food. We saved all day for it." Ethan blinked slowly, his heart squeezing with an ache he recognized all too well, the pain of losing someone, the desperation of trying to survive on hope too thin to hold. Without thinking further, he opened his gate and nodded. "Come with me." The boy stiffened, unsure whether to trust him, but hunger won over fear. Inside the cabin, the children looked around with large eyes, absorbing the sparse furniture, the single photograph of a smiling woman and a blue-eyed little girl, and the fireplace that crackled with life. Ethan stepped into the kitchen, heated leftover stew, and placed generous bowls in front of them. The children ate as though each spoonful held the world. The girl giggled at the warmth of the broth, and her small smile lit the room in a way Ethan hadn't seen since his own daughter used to run around the wooden floors in her tiny boots. The boy paused halfway through his meal and looked up. "Why are you helping us, mister?" he asked cautiously. Ethan leaned against the counter, arms folded across his chest, the shadows of the fire dancing across his worn face. "Because someone once helped me when I needed it," he murmured. He didn't elaborate. He didn't need to. Silence settled, warm and full this time, unlike the cold emptiness he had grown used to. After their meal, Ethan insisted the children spend the night on the couch, refusing to send them back into the freezing wind. As they slept curled together under a thick quilt, Ethan sat at the dining table thinking. The world had once taught him to guard his heart, to build walls so high that no one and nothing could break him again. But tonight those walls trembled. Something about the boy's bravery, the girl's soft innocence, reminded him of what he had lost, and more importantly, what he still had to give. When the first morning light crawled through the windows, Ethan heard soft footsteps. The boy stood by the door, the little girl still asleep on the couch. "Sir," he whispered, "we have to go home. Mama's waiting." "She'll be scared," Ethan nodded. grabbed his coat and said, "I'll walk you." The dirt road was long, but the boy guided him with certainty, like someone who had walked it many times despite his small legs. They reached a worn-down shack, barely holding itself together. Inside lay a woman whose breathing was shallow, her cheeks sunken. She looked up when the children entered, and relief flooded her face. Ethan stepped inside cautiously, introducing himself. The woman tried to sit but collapsed back. Apologizing over and over for the trouble, Ethan knelt beside her and gently checked her forehead. It was burning with fever. "You need help," he said. She nodded weakly. "I sent them to find food. I didn't know what else to do." Ethan looked around the room. No food, no water, no blankets, nothing but survival stretched thinly over love. And in that moment, something in him made a decision he didn't question. He stood, rolling up his sleeves. "I'm going to help you," he said firmly. "All of you," the woman tried to protest, but her words faded into coughs. The boy watched Ethan with a mixture of disbelief and gratitude, tears forming though he tried to hide them. Ethan stepped outside, inhaling the cold morning air. His ranch had felt empty for years, haunted by memories of the family he missed. But now something felt different. He had a purpose. These children, this mother, their struggle, it awakened something human, something warm inside him. It whispered that maybe, just maybe, he wasn't done living. And as the sun rose, Ethan made a silent vow that would change all their lives forever. The morning sun filtered gently through the ranch windows as Clara slowly opened her eyes, realizing she had slept without fear for the first time in years. Ethan had woken early, already outside tending to the horses, and the soft rhythmic sound of hooves calming the soil reached the cabin. Sam and Lily were curled together on the couch, warm under the thick quilts Ethan had given them. Clara sat up, her heart heavy with a mix of gratitude and disbelief. People like Ethan didn't come often, and life had rarely been this kind. When Ethan walked back in, dust on his boots and kindness in his tired eyes, the children ran to him with the kind of joy only the truly safe could feel. Seeing them laugh, seeing them no longer afraid of hunger or cold, stirred something deep inside him, a feeling he thought he could never allow again. Over breakfast, Clara tried to stand and help him, but her legs wobbled, and Ethan gently guided her back to the chair. "You're still healing," he said softly, the warmth in his voice melting the distance he kept from the world for so long. Days passed in a quiet rhythm, Ethan teaching Sam how to feed the horses, Lily following him everywhere with her fixed doll, Clara slowly regaining her strength. Every evening they shared dinner in the house, once filled with silence and shadows, now echoed with laughter, footsteps, and the innocent questions of children rediscovering hope. One night, as the fire cracked softly in the hearth, Sam crawled into Ethan's lap and whispered, "Mr. Ethan, can we stay here forever?" Clara froze, unsure how Ethan would respond, but the rancher pulled the boy closer, his voice barely steady as he said, "If your mama wants, then yes. You can." Clara's breath caught as she looked at him, really looked at the man who once lived only with ghosts, now offering his heart to 3 people who came into his life by nothing more than desperate chance. Tears slipped quietly down her cheeks, not of sorrow but of relief, of safety, of a future she thought she and her children would never deserve. "We'd like that," she finally whispered, her voice trembling with emotion she couldn't hide. Ethan reached across the table, his hand covering hers with gentle certainty. In that moment, the broken rancher found family again, and a small, fragile family found a home. Outside, the wind softened, no longer carrying loneliness, but promise, because sometimes God sends the right people at the exact moment hearts are ready to be healed.